When I first bought my dream property on the edge of Pinewood Lake, I envisioned weekend fishing trips, quiet mornings on the deck, and bonfires with friends, but what I didn't expect was to inherit a neighbor like Karen, the self-proclaimed enforcer of the nearby HOA, even though my property was explicitly outside their jurisdiction. I bought my land specifically because it wasn't tied to the HOA, giving me the freedom to build the dock and lake deck I'd always wanted. But Karen, whose home was nestled in the adjacent subdivision, made it her personal mission to remind me almost daily of Lakeview's rules that didn't apply to me. At first, I thought it was just an overzealous neighbor being protective of the lake. But it escalated fast. She'd scowl whenever I had guests over, demanded I remove my boat from the water, and once even called my contractor to halt deck construction because it violated HOA design standards. I laughed it off until she started leaving passive-aggressive notes on my front gate, citing rules from a handbook that had nothing to do with me. Then things turned serious. One Saturday, I was hosting my sister's birthday gathering with family and a few friends, when Karen stormed over uninvited, waving a clipboard and shouting that I had too many people on community grounds, and that she would call the HOA board to find me. I calmly told her again that I wasn't under the HOA and reminded her that my property was deeded separately and even had a different address line. Legally exempt, but she wouldn't hear it. Minutes later, 2 sheriff's deputies showed up at my gate, saying they received a report of trespassing on HOA property and potential violation of community noise ordinances. I invited them in, showed them my land title, deed map, and exemption documentation, which I kept neatly organized for reasons exactly like this. One of the deputies actually chuckled and said, "Ma'am, he's not even part of your HOA." Karen looked like someone had poured ice water down her back. She tried arguing, but the officer gently but firmly told her that if she continued with these false claims, she could face harassment charges. But the saga didn't end. There Karen was embarrassed, sure, but now more determined than ever. The following week, she escalated her crusade by writing a furious letter to the HOA board, demanding they do something about my lake deck. To their credit, the HOA president replied that they had no jurisdiction over non-member properties, and suggested she redirect her focus. Furious, Karen began warning her guests and others in the neighborhood not to interact with me, claiming I was not community approved, whatever that meant. The final straw came when I saw her walking down to my dock without permission and attempting to remove one of the no trespassing signs I'd installed. That was the moment I installed a full security system and notified the sheriff of the ongoing behavior, just in case. I later found out from another neighbor that Karen had been like this for years, obsessed with control, even though she held no official HOA title, and had once tried to evict a neighbor's cousin for having a boat trailer parked for too long. The irony? Her own backyard had an unapproved shed that did violate actual HOA guidelines, but no one called her out. As months passed and Karen's antics continued to fail, she became more isolated. Fewer neighbors supported her, and eventually, she just stopped. No more clipboard check-ins, no more cops, no more harassment, just cold glares from across the lawn. I, on the other hand, continued enjoying my freedom on my private dock. Barbecue pit smoking, music playing, and peace restored. It's amazing how some people think power comes from a rule book, instead of respect and boundaries. But when you stand your ground, especially with facts and patience, even the loudest HOA, Karen eventually quiets down. Now I ask you, have you ever dealt with a neighbor who tried to enforce rules they had no authority over? How did you handle it? Tell me your story in the comments. I'd love to hear it.